Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my channel. I wasn't planning to make a video today, but when I inspected my plants in the room here, I noticed here is Rob's antique rose, and I noticed it had some foliage that was dying and I was going to remove it. And on closer inspection, you can see it's infested with powdery mildew. This is what powdery mildew looks like. And there's a little bit spreading to the leaf below. So I thought I would go through with you. It's not a horrible, terrible condition. It's a common condition. The spores for these little, actually I think they're technically mushrooms. The spores are everywhere. So when you have plants in a plant room, you need good airflow. I do have a fan in my room here. I turned it off for the video here so you could hear me better. I have a fan running because this room does not have good cross ventilation, and occasionally I do see some powdery mildew crop up. So how can you prevent this from happening? Well, one good way is to make sure when you have fading flowers that you remove them right away. I think these flowers were starting to fade. They're actually weak and they're more susceptible to being attacked by a fungus. So in addition to having good airflow from a fan or from cross ventilation in a room that has doors or windows that are open. Another thing you can do is to try to maintain the temperature without really wide fluctuations. Supposedly what causes powdery mildew to take hold is when you have really cool conditions during the night. So if your temperature is normal during the day but drops quite a bit during the night, you may develop powdery mildew. It is almost middle of summer here, and I don't believe my temperature has dropped down below 70 degrees in this room, so I don't think temperature was a factor. But I could be wrong. This plant was right next to a window, so that's a possibility. So when you get powdery mildew, don't panic. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's a fairly easily treatable condition. The first thing you want to do is remove any leaves or flowers that have the mildew on them. I'm not going to remove that leaf because it's a newer leaf, but I am going to remove those flowers. Alrighty, so here is the guilty party here. I'm going to just remove this flower stalk, if I can get a hold of it. And that one was a little bit stubborn, so I'm going to need to bring in my shears here and give it a little snip as close as you can to the main stalk of the plant. So we're removing this infested thing here. And then we can see there's a little bit of powdery mildew. You can see it here. Let me turn this so you can see it a little better. Powdery mildew will really spread if you don't jump right on top of it. So we've got a little powdery mildew here and here. If you don't want to remove those leaves, you don't have to. To me, flowers are an easy thing to remove. I'm going to spray mine with a insect disease and mite control. This actually has a fungicide. It's called tebuconazole. So this is sort of overkill, actually. I could take this over to the sink, rinse it off, spray something a little less potent on there, but I'm going to go ahead and use this. I've been using it in the past, and it hasn't seemed to bother my flowers at all. And I'm going to spray the flowers nearby, everything nearby. And I'll leave this in a place where it can just dry before nightfall. It's pretty early in the day. And there we have it. And then ideally you'd like to separate this plant from your other plants so that the powdery mildew won't spread. There are other less potent treatments if you don't want to use a fungicide. You can use a 1% hydrogen peroxide. You can clean it with alcohol. There is a bacillus in milk, believe it or not. There's a bacteria, a beneficial bacteria that's in milk, and some people will actually clean the leaves with milk. Some people even leave milk out to let the bacteria multiply and then use that. They'll skim off the curds and use the whey to spray their plants that have powdery mildew. But I don't believe I have enough of a situation here to be waiting several days for my milk to curdle and then spray it on the plants. And there is another thing you can do for your plants, which I believe in the long run strengthens them and prevents and treats powdery mildew. You can get a foliar spray that's got silica in it. And you can also, when you're fertilizing your plants, in your nutrient solution, include silica. And you have to mix silica first before you put your other nutrients in your solution. But silica enters the cells of your plant and strengthens them, and it helps give them a natural resistance to fungus such as powdery mildew. If your plant is strong and healthy, powdery mildew probably will not get a foothold. So that is what I do when I get some powdery mildew. I do occasionally see some in here, and that's how I treat it. And it's not the end of the world. It's if you catch it while it's still not very prevalent, you don't have a hard time with it. And even if it's spread to several plants, you can take the plants to your sink, wash them off, then spray them with something that'll prevent the mildew from returning, like I said, alcohol, peroxide, or milk, or a fungicide. And here is an example. I'm just starting to look through my plants today. So this plant has fading blooms. I'm going to remove these because the fading blooms and fading leaves are more susceptible to getting powdery mildew. So we're going to just remove that, and that's going to help prevent this plant from getting powdery mildew. Simple things that you do every day, or you should do every day, and that'll help prevent an infestation of powdery mildew from taking hold in your collection. So I hope that's helpful to you, and we will talk to you all again in the next video. Bye now.